Only a 12th level intellect has the slightest hope of surviving what you are about to experience.
I figured maybe today we only use Australian accents. What do you think about that? Mine's more of a
the down under box.
Mine's more of a New Zealand kind of Korg kind of sound to it.
A wallaby.
Yeah, there you go.
What is that? An animal? A wallaby?
I think so. I think
Or
they
is it a
live where we
shoe?
live.
It's either a shoe or an animal.
See, we can just do this the whole time and confuse the heck out of people. Don't you think that would be really
You're slowly
entertaining?
turning into a beetle. Now you're sounding like a Liverpool accent.
Yeah. It's, I'm not going to even attempt it. It's done. This joke is
The
over.
12th level intellects.
Yeah, welcome back to another episode of the 12th Level Intellects. I'm sorry if you're very offended by this.
If you're Australian or
Yeah,
British,
you're like, oh boy.
we
oh, no.
apologize.
Yeah, my Australian accent's somewhere between Taika Waititi and the Beatles, apparently.
Yeah. Mine's somewhere in between New Zealand and India.
Or I think both are just between bad and really bad. Yeah, hi everybody. I'm James Strecker. That's Ted Kendrick. This is a show that we do sometimes, where we talk about things that happen in our lives and you know, the social ups and downs of the American 27-year-old, and sometimes Batman.
Sometimes Batman, yeah.
Like today. Well, let's skip right into the news. Did you see that video I sent you and Maddie this morning? It was Aquaman
The behind the scenes Aquaman?
Yeah.
I did watch it.
watched
I
it?
liked that a lot.
Yeah.
It was cool.
They've done
very
those
cool.
with Justice League and Batman vs Superman and stuff, where they just like, I don't know if it's to kind of appease, like,
Yeah.
oh, were you worried about this one? Well, don't be, because look at this or something. But
It kind of had like a little, maybe 10 seconds on each character. Like you saw Nicole Kidman, who plays Aquaman's mom. There was like Willem Dafoe, who plays Volko, and everybody got their own little like line.
Yeah, I liked seeing
to sort of
Willem
be like,
Dafoe,
"This is
even
why
though
I'm excited."
he felt a little out of place, like
I
among
think-
these actors. But I think he'll still be good.
Yeah, I hope he surprises us. And the like recent Throne of Atlantis comic, where they like did the DC animated adaptation of Volko, was
Recent,
kind of
like 7 years ago.
yeah. No, this was more like, I mean, the comic came out probably like 5 or 6 years ago now.
Okay.
But maybe not that long
That's
ago.
basically
Probably
7.
5. Yeah, basically at this point, basically. But Volko was kind of like almost like a Hagrid character to
Yeah.
Aquaman's Harry Potter, like kind of ushering him out of like, I didn't know I was Atlantean, and now you're a wizard, Harry.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. And then, but it turns out later that he's actually like, in the 90s version, Volko was definitely his friend and like the Alfred in a way to his Batman. Like it was kind of
Yeah, you had mentioned that, but
know?
like that's my only knowledge of him is Throne of Atlantis, where
Yeah.
he seems a lot more just like he's
a little
immediately
ruthless.
turns on him and stuff.
Yeah,
like that,
yeah,
so.
he's a bit more of a villain.
Yeah.
So who knows what to expect out of him here.
And we see him in
Anyway.
scenes like training like a teenage Jason Momoa, not Aquaman.
Yeah. Well, in
Jason
the
Momoa.
behind the scenes video, it was really cool to see Black Manta and the
Yeah.
actor. Like he seemed super excited to play the character. And if like the end of Justice League is any indication, we might be building towards a Legion
Right,
of Doom.
yeah, that'd be
so
cool.
it makes sense
He'd
that
fit
he'd
right
be-
in with that. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
of course.
I liked that he was wearing an actual giant fishbowl head. But
Yeah.
except for whatever one shot where it looks like he's firing like eye lasers, it's like
That's his
CGI
thing.
later or something like that. But
Yeah, it looks pretty awesome though.
why didn't they use real eye lasers? What the hell?
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, I
effects.
like how much of the sets are practical, and I like how I mean, there's still blue screen and stuff in the background, but it's like they still built like all these like crustaceous looking, just crusty things.
Crustaceous.
Yeah, crusty crab. They built the Krusty Krab for the Aquaman movie, and yeah, I don't know. Do you think it's weird that he doesn't have blonde hair now that like it was a cool Zack Snyder-y like different take on him originally, but like now that it's like you look at your mom, she has blonde hair and everything else is the same as the comics except you just don't look like Aquaman anymore.
Not necessarily. There was like a plot element in the comic books where like having blonde hair as an Atlantean was kind of a cursed thing, and I don't think they're going that route, obviously, because I think Orm has blonde hair in the movie.
That's true.
Yeah, so maybe he's the one who's cursed. I don't know.
It was a little bit shorter than the Justice League one that we got a while ago. Like it didn't show as much, but I guess it's probably good because there's probably not as much to show that wouldn't just ruin the movie. Especially after that like 6-minute trailer, quote unquote, that we got like a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
The extended trailer. Yeah, that was pretty awesome. Well, I'm excited for that movie. I'll definitely go see it.
Yeah. Now it's your turn to say things that are happening in the world.
Well, I'm going to go a sadder route. Stan Lee passed away on the other day.
Yes, he did.
And we should honor him because obviously he's a big deal. He crafted the majority of the Marvel Universe. Whether or not there's a lot of talk in the comic book world about how much he actually deserves credit for, but you can't deny that he was a huge person. Like, obviously, a
I'm
legend.
sure there were many Bill Fingers to his Bob Kane that don't get the credit, but he still deserves the credit. Like, there's not as big of a, at least as far as I know, like, you know, if Bob Kane had been making cameos in every Batman movie or something.
He just seemed like, I mean, he definitely built Marvel as the company to where it is today. Like, I mean,
he kept it from dying several times.
And created characters like Spider-Man, X-Men, Fantastic Four. Yeah.
I'm sure if the DCAU was still going today, they would do a funeral, like Dan Turpin kind of thing, maybe for him. I don't know what, they would have had to have a character based on him or something, but
I think we've seen a lot of that in Marvel. At least there's been a lot of memes floating around like that that were probably.
He's basically influenced like kind of like action pop culture as we know it. Like I'm sure that we wouldn't have a lot of sci-fi or video game kind of themes and genres and stuff without him either.
That's true. And like even video games, like the Spider-Man games have been some of the most like groundbreaking things. And I don't know if you played the one from like the mid 90s, but there was one of the early Spider-Man games. Stan Lee was actually like the narrator during the the training sequence, like the tutorial stuff. And then he would narrate like all the bio screens and everything.
Hold your hand out like this to shoot a web. Excelsior.
Exactly.
Hold B. Press B several times.
Cameos in the Marvel movies, like all that's been such a treat. Like watching every Marvel movie, trying to find him.
Yeah.
He will be missed.
Yeah, my friend Will said like he doesn't. Oh no, it was my friend John actually. If any of them are listening, I want to give the proper credit. That they don't look forward to his Grand Moff Tarkin CGI version of himself in future Marvel movies.
I hope they don't do that. Maybe if they include him as like a cameo in a photograph or something.
Yeah, they do that in like Daredevil and stuff where he's just on a poster or something.
Oh, nice.
But as far as I've heard, he's already recorded his Avengers 4 cameo.
That's good.
So if that's the last one they have recorded, they should just stop there because it would be a good finale thing. And I'm sure that'll get quite the applause when it happens. So.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Well, rest in peace.
Yeah. All right. I have another DCEU piece of news. This happened a few weeks ago, but we didn't talk about it, I don't think, is that Wonder Woman 84 got pushed back like several months It was going to come out in November of next year, but now it's coming out in June 2020. And I don't know if it's like confirmed or if it's just rumors that the reason is because they're trying to make it be sort of a soft reboot to the universe. Not like a Flashpoint-y way, but just kind of like this is the only actor you guys really like in these movies, like as our choices for characters. So like, because they've been saying for a while, like, oh, it's not a sequel to Wonder Woman, it's its own thing, even though how could it be? But now if this is the case, then maybe that's what they meant the whole time or something, and they're just trying to make sure that they do it right, which I guess is okay if they're taking their time.
Take your time. I'm sure it's going to be a good movie. It's got a lot of interesting elements to it. It seems like Dr. Psycho might be the villain.
Yeah.
And
Cheetah will be in it,
obviously Kristen Wiig. Yeah.
But if that's kind of if they are doing that, then I'm sort of okay more with that than a literal Flashpoint reboot. Like, I feel like a Flashpoint reboot. I've said this many times.
And I think they pushed that to 2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll find out if they do that also or whatever. But
which I'm sure means Green Lantern Corps is no longer 2020.
Yeah, maybe not.
Nope.
I still want that to happen, though.
Yeah, hopefully it will. You just never know with DC.
Yeah.
They announce a movie. I mean, it seems like Suicide Squad 2 and Birds of Prey are going to come much sooner than most of these things, since they're already like casting and
I guess
attached.
So. Well, I mean,
Matt Reeves the Batman.
That is weird. That I mean, Wonder Woman 84, for as far as I know, has been in production or like nearing end of production and all this stuff where these other movies haven't started really. So, but it's still so far away.
It takes a while to make a movie.
Yeah, it sure does. I know from experience.
How long have you been working on Vi Reality? No, we don't need to say
we can talk
7
about
years.
that when it's
okay,
done.
right.
When it's done. Okay, well, that's all I had to say. I just thought it was weird that, like, why would they push it back so far? But if that's why, then I guess
it's not that far. It's only like 2 years.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah, it's a yeah. So I got a little more news. I wanted to talk about the BTAS little cameo in Teen Titans Go.
Oh yeah,
because that was really cute. There was a little episode. I forget what the episode title was, but it came out.
It was like Secret Origins or something like that, or like real origins. Like they were trying to say oranges or something. That must have been a joke. I don't know. I didn't watch the full episode.
Yeah, but there's a little scene from Batman the Animated Series, or at least in the style of it.
Yeah.
It has Commissioner Gordon and Kevin Conroy's is back as Batman. But it's got Scott Menville as Robin, but he's in the like Dick Grayson looking BTS
he has
uniform.
Like green underwear and no pants, like to kind of look like the little pixie version of his costume. But
which he kind of says is maybe a reason why he's quitting being Batman's partner. Maybe it's not really a big deal. It's a small reason why.
I did really like the scene though. Just the like he's literally in his shadow and Batman keeps where did that come from? Like, Robin, where'd you go? And
where are you, Robin? Yeah, it was really silly.
Who said that?
Obviously, Teen Titans is now canon to the DCAU.
Duh, yeah. I mean, this just solidifies it. We need to delete that video off our channel, man.
Yeah, it's gone, but not really. It was all kind of in the context of Robin telling the rest of the team like he was trying to explain his origin story and how the team came together. So
but it was a bit of hyperbole. There's not really an origin other than he just didn't be there anymore.
Right. Yeah.
I kind of like that when they do these things, but also like the continuity brain. That's my whole brain. Just makes me go like, wait, because we never actually see him leave Batman in the original Teen Titans cartoon, so we don't know what happened there, and this is our only thing.
Yeah, but not really.
Did you see the Elseworlds set pictures that have been coming out? The CW crossover.
We've talked about a few in the past.
Yeah,
there's
ones now of like Black Suit Superman choking Flash and a handful of other things. Wow. So it's like, I guess Black Suit Superman is from a different universe or something instead of his own, the one that we're used to.
That's likely.
There was also like a teaser trailer kind of thing. I haven't been watching the new seasons yet. Like
I've watched a little bit of Flash.
Okay.
Oh, I watched the first episode of Arrow.
But there was it's looking like they must get plopped into this Elseworlds reality, but they like into their own bodies or something. Like they take over the bodies of themselves from that world or something like that, because
it's not the first time that's happened.
Yeah, right. It's like a Days of Future Past kind of thing. But like, because the little teaser is just Stephen Amell like waking up and Iris West is like kissing him and saying good morning to him and all this stuff. And so you think like, oh, in this world, I guess Oliver Queen is married to her, but then she calls him Barry. So like in this reality, Barry Allen looks like Oliver Queen, I guess, and vice versa, because of those costume changes we've seen. So
that's funny.
So yeah, I don't know. Cool. It looks fun.
It's gonna be a good one. Yeah, there's gonna be monitors involved.
Batwoman,
from, like Crisis. Yeah, Batwoman's gonna be introduced. It's just a 3-episode thing. Like I don't think Legends is involved at all. Legends of Tomorrow. I think it's just Arrow, Flash, and Supergirl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, sorry, Legends, you don't get to
Sorry, Legends, you're the least watched of any of these shows. All right.
Oh,
You did not see Phantasm in theaters, right?
I didn't, but I had one more little piece of news.
Okay, fine.
I was going to talk about DC's Black Label.
Oh.
Because that's always interesting.
More penises or?
No, but more books. So it seems like the team behind Batman's Penis, Batman Damned. That's the real name of the book.
Batman Damn.
Yeah, Brian Azzarello and Lee Bermejo. They are known for doing a Joker graphic novel that came out a few years ago, and then a limited series called Lex Luthor Man of Steel.
Okay.
And both of those are going to be recollected and like really fancy editions.
I've heard of the Luthor one, that's where he's like being Superman, right? Like he's in a suit, like a Iron Man kind of suit.
Sort of, kind of, not really. It's been a while since I read that series. I need to go back to it, but it's a really cool character study into the mind of Lex Luthor. It's definitely worth a read.
Was this an older
beautiful art
thing?
It probably came out in like 2004.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking of whatever recent like New 52 Superman dying and Lex Luthor taking his place thing, but okay.
Yeah, this was right before Infinite Crisis, because I remember when it came out, like Luthor had just been president and like Public Enemies had just happened, and So anyway, so that's coming out, and then Sean Gordon Murphy, who's the writer-artist on Batman White Knight, has a new book that he's working on right now. He's been teasing it on Instagram. It's probably going to come out next year. It's Batman Curse of the White Knight, and it looks like it stars,
the sequel, right?
Yeah, it's going to be the sequel, and it's got Azrael featured really heavily.
Okay.
So that should be really fun.
I hope it lives up to the hype, because it like White Knight did really well, and there's a lot of people. I liked it.
This is definitely a sequel. Like said, it's gonna follow up White Knight. Yeah. So
I'm excited to see more of that universe, because it was definitely DCAU inspired and very like a lot of callbacks to that. It felt like that. So
yeah, he draws in a really similar angular sort of style, you know. So
I started following him on Instagram. He just posts random stuff he draws, and it's always pretty cool looking.
He's talented. Yeah, he's done some other books like Chrononauts with Mark Millar.
Yeah,
that was a cool book.
When are you gonna finally make Necronauts, man?
Yeah, hey, I'm like, we'll talk about some other time. If anyone's looking for like a supernatural adventure comic series, I got one in the works.
Contact Ted Kendrick at following information. All right. Can I talk about Phantasm now? Are you done?
Yes.
Is that okay? Okay. Yes. So you didn't see it in theaters. I saw it in theaters. Maddie saw it in theaters.
Mask of the Phantasm?
Yeah.
So the Batman animated movie?
Yeah, that's the one.
I've definitely heard of it, yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty okay. You should
check it out. It's got that guy from Star Wars who plays the Joker in it.
Oh, yeah. Harrison Ford. Right.
Yeah.
So this is the first time it's been in theaters since 1993 when it came out. So I pretty much needed to see it because it was pretty like historical, and why would I miss this chance?
I had to work.
You should feel bad that you missed.
I got money.
But I came prepared. Like I brought business cards that we had at Emerald City Comic Con
for the Watchtower Database.
that you made for us, that I put in everybody's. Yeah, I was gonna put them in everybody's cup holders, and I did do that, but like there was already 2 people that had beat me to the theater, so they were sitting together as like a late teenager, early 20s looking couple, and I walked up and you're actually here, so here I'll just give you this, and I handed it to them, and they were looking at it, and I said I run a YouTube channel on the cartoons that this movie's part of, and then there was just silence, and the guy said okay. And I felt
you're probably scared, and people don't go to the movies to socialize.
Yeah, I was gonna say
dark room,
if a guy did walk up to me and hand me like a pamphlet, like, the Church of Jesus Christ, like, please come to the Church of I run a Church of Batman, then I would probably have that same reaction. But it was like in my brain, I was kind of like, okay, fuck you, and I walked away.
Of your Lord and Savior Batman.
Yeah, pretty much. But I managed to put the rest in cup holders before anyone else got there, and then I watched people pick them up as they sat down. So hopefully maybe someone that's listening to this right now did that.
What?
Maybe not, though.
Probably not.
It was a decently, I wouldn't say packed theater, but it was, there were a handful of people there. Like, there was enough to call it a crowd, I guess, but...
More people than were at your screening of Justice League?
No. But around almost the same, I would say. Speaking of which, I think this weekend is the year anniversary of that movie coming out.
Great.
Justice League, which is
Let's
weird.
Celebrate by burning all copies.
Hey, it was okay.
Really.
It was not what we wanted, but it was okay.
It was silence. Okay?
Yeah. Okay. That's my reaction after the movie ended. But it's also
for real though. Yep. What was it like seeing Phantasm on the big screen?
Well, I was gonna say it's also this weekend's also the 17th anniversary of the Justice League cartoon premiering, so we can watch Secret Origins or something. Anyway,
17th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
November 17th is the 17th anniversary of Justice League. So anyway, yeah.
I remember the 17th of November.
Seeing, yeah, I do remember. Seeing the Phantasm movie on a movie screen wasn't as cool as I thought it would be. But I think it's only because I've seen the movie hundreds of times. So,
okay.
I think there were a handful of people there that hadn't seen it before, or at least hadn't seen it in a long time, because I don't know.
They have reactions in certain scenes.
Yeah, well, there's stuff that I forget is jokes, like just the
Joker.
Why you're the very model of sanity. Oh, by the way, I pressed your tights and put away your exploding gas balls. Like, everybody laughed at that really hard, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that's a joke.
Snarky Alfred.
Yeah, I've just seen
great.
it so many times. I did. People laughed at all of Alfred's snarky things, and a lot of the Joker stuff too got laughs. Like him saying like the councilman and his wacky pal. Like, everybody laughed at that. But then there was also, I think that the movie has started to become a little dated in like the production value of it. Like, it still looks really good, and you can, especially if you know.
It's set somewhere between 1933 and 1990.
Right, as we know. But like, I mean, like the techniques of animation at the time. Like, if you know when it came out and you know what you're watching, you can still very much appreciate the hard work that went into it. But if you're like,
it's state of the art.
But if you're like I think the kids next to me, kids, I think they were, I don't think they knew what they were like watching. I think they were just kind of there or something. Like they're like, Batman, whatever. Yeah. And because they were like laughing at stuff like there's a scene of Batman watching Andrea and Arthur in the restaurant, and he's just looking at them through binoculars, and there's like a shot where you see Andrea and Arthur looking at each other, and Batman's just in the background on a rooftop with the binoculars just staring at them. And like, those people just laughed at that, and I was like, that's not supposed to be funny. But then I thought, I guess maybe like it looks kind of funny that he's just
He's spying on an ex-girlfriend. Yeah.
He's just like getting jealous and stuff. Anytime that there was like a moment of Batman being like, please, Andre, you gotta stop being the Phantasm, like near the end of the movie, they would be like kind of chuckling at that too. And like I did look over at them a couple of times like, hey, shut the fuck up. But they managed to not be as big of a distraction as they could have been, I guess.
Yeah, that's a pet peeve of yours.
Yeah.
If you go to the movies with James, do not talk. Ever.
Yeah, pretty
at all.
Yeah, I will murder you.
Not even in the credits.
It's a good thing you weren't there, Ted. Maybe you would have been talking.
Yeah, I would tell her. I talk over movies all the time. I went to see Black Klansman last night.
Ooh.
Have you seen that one?
No, I want to.
It was very awesome, and I talked through the first act.
Well, why are you still alive? Why are you still here?
That's all I'll say. It was a good movie.
Anyway,
back to Phantasm.
I brought my parents and sister to Phantasm. Like I bought tickets for them and everything because I wanted them to go. Like, hey, this is your only chance to see this in theaters and whatever. Mm-hmm. I think my mom
means a lot to me.
Yeah. I think
my wife won't.
Just kidding. Yeah, she won't come, but my mom, I think, had seen it enough times, or at least remembered it enough to just be like, yep, this is this movie. But my dad, I'm sure, has also seen it a bunch of times, but he's pretty bad at remembering things that he's seen, movies he's seen or not seen. Yeah. He'll watch an entire TV show and then just forget that he ever watched. Like, I don't think I've seen this before. I'm like, yeah, I was there with you.
We watched this yesterday.
Yeah. But he was
my dad's the same way, but it's because he falls asleep at the beginning.
Yeah. That's probably what it is. He does fall asleep during a lot of stuff. But he was saying he'd never seen Mask of the Phantasm, and I'm pretty sure that's a lie, but he still enjoyed it. He told me how he really appreciated how mature it was, and he wasn't expecting it that. Anyway, he probably expected whatever you would think a cartoon Batman movie is, but for us that's this anyway, so it doesn't really make a difference. I don't know. I don't have a lot to say about it. There were a couple times where I was like tearing up a little bit with how cool it was. Like there's the scene with Batman jumping off the Batwing onto Phantasm on the rooftop. That was always my favorite part as a kid because he finally does cool Batman stuff. Like the whole movie is just a bunch of drama and relationship problems and stuff until that moment when they finally fight. But it only happens for like 3 seconds, but it was still the coolest thing.
That was pretty awesome.
It was good. I tried to imagine myself as a person watching it in 1993, like for the first time, and I think I can see why people didn't come back to it multiple times, because like even though it has a very noir film feel to it compared to the series, it still looks like, I don't know, slightly low budget when you see it that big. Like it just, like imagine blowing up like Heart of Ice onto like I'm choosing one of the better episodes, like blowing it up onto a cinema screen. You can still tell like, yep, this was made for TV, and basically Phantasm was made for TV, and at the last second they're like, put it in theaters. So
they're like, oh, this is actually really good. Let's
hurry up,
get out there. Yep. Nice.
But yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm sorry I missed it. I wanted to be there in my city.
Maybe it'll happen on the 50-year anniversary.
Yeah, I'll go see it then. What'll that be, like 2039?
Ooh.
It's not.
Close to no.
I'm not going to do that mental math.
I'm not going to do it.
It's like 2043. I did it anyway. Damn it. Okay. Well, anyway. Moving on, or anything else?
If you tell me what's happening
I got final thoughts. I got final thoughts about Phantasm.
Okay.
I think either you or Maddie said this over our little group chat, but Arthur Reeves plus the Joker equals Creeper (parentheses Jack Ryder). Yeah, when he's Jokerized in that one scene, he looks just like the Creeper.
Yeah, people laughed really hard actually at. When he's finally gets sedated and then Batman comes in through the window and he's just, oh no! Yeah. It was pretty good. Like
that's a good one.
I did like seeing it with other people was cool because of that. But Yeah, no, he is. I told Valentina, she's done a bunch of character designs for the website that doesn't exist yet, to use the Creeper as like a base model for when she did the Arthur Reeves like crazy version. So
nice. Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, he kind of becomes a Creeper kind of guy in the comic sequel, where he's
that's right. Batman and Robin Adventures #2, is it?
It's like annual. It's one of the annuals.
It was written by Paul Dini. It's like a sort of, I mean, it's a sequel to Phantasm. Picks up with Arthur Reeves, and Phantasm comes back, and it's a good read. Check it out.
Yeah, all the Joker toxins have made him into a like creepy Joker man. So yeah.
What a good transition to comic relief. Now that we're talking about comics.
Well, aren't you supposed to talk about Mr. Miracle with what's his face?
Well, good thing, because that's a comic.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah, we've got hold on one second before I announce who we've got a guest coming on to talk Mr. Miracle. I'm sure it's going to be a great discussion. Hasn't happened yet, but it'll happen.
Well, you're very confident.
And you'll hear it.
I'm sure it's going to be great. Thanks for setting that up for us.
Yeah, for sure. And I can tell you his name in a minute. Who I'm talking to.
We got a great guy. He's one of my best friends. Hang on a sec.
He's not a best friend, but he's a local comedian here in Asheville, North Carolina. His name's Sahil Dhawan, and he's been doing some stand-up comedy, and he's a funny guy. He's been reading Mr. Miracle. Most of his stand-up.
I was going to say, what makes him qualified to talk Mr. Miracle?
He does comic book stand-up. So last time I heard him, he did a whole bit about Batman.
He is a
Damned. Comic.
Yeah. He is a...
So, without further ado, here's Sahil. Hey, so this is Ted with Watchtower Database, 12th Level Intellects. I'm here talking about Mr. Miracle with a local comedian based here in Asheville. His name's Sahil Dhawan. I probably didn't say that right again.
Sahil Dhawan.
Oh my god, I said that so wrong.
Yeah. I mean, fair enough. It's not spelled like how it sounds.
Well, it's spelled in a great way. You have a great name, and I'm sorry I didn't say it right.
It's fine. Happened since second grade.
Yeah, and it happened the second time in this podcast, and I'm sure it'll happen again.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thanks for being here on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, very, very excited. I've really enjoyed your set. I've seen you at least once. It was a good set.
That was good enough.
You talked. Yeah, it was all about Batman Damned.
Oh yeah, that was a practice set for the comic book store show.
Yeah, it was a good set, and I definitely think you should. If you're talking about Batman's dick, you have to bring up Robin.
Yeah, I can't believe I didn't do that.
Yeah, although now he's got like brain trauma. He got shot in the head in his series. Now he's calling himself Rick Grayson.
It's like New 52 all over again. They gotta just fuck it up.
They
had something so good.
Yeah, they just gotta mess it up. Well, we're talking about Mr. Miracle, which is like a case of them doing it right, I think, since the New 52.
Just like its own thing. Nothing related to Rebirth.
Yeah.
Except for like one panel, but...
It's got a little bit of references to like past Mr. Miracle stuff. Like there's a moment where he's hanging out with Booster Gold. And Blue Beetle.
Yeah.
And that's definitely like a straight out of the Justice League International series.
But it's not necessarily taught. Like you don't need to read anything else before or after this. It's just its own thing.
Yeah, which is awesome. That's the best part about it.
Yeah,
which maybe even a little confusing because Mr. Miracle and Big Barda are still like around the DCU a little bit. At least like I think the last time we might have seen them was in Heroes in Crisis.
Oh yeah, they're in Dark Knight's Metal for like Mr. Miracle's in there for like basically a second relative to the whole thing, and then he's also in that new Spider-Man ripoff, Sideways.
Yeah,
and he's nothing like his character in this book. He's just like a regular guy in the background.
Yeah, he's just still. I mean, probably just quintessential Mr. Miracle. He's new god. Yeah, that sort of thing. Whereas this, he's like a father, and he's
super depressed.
I
love that.
Yeah, it's like this is kind of if the like all the Fourth World characters, like all like their story has progressed now. It's like the new generation's picking back up. Like Highfather's dead, which isn't the first time there's been a new Highfather in comic books. There was a guy named Tachyon who was the new Highfather, and like it was around the 90s.
Oh, that's probably why.
Yeah, I mean, he was a little older, but so Tachyon was a Highfather for a minute, but now this like starts with Orion in that position, and by the end of it, it kind of gets pushed over to Mr. Miracle instead, and
then Oberon's dead too.
Yeah, Oberon died.
There's a lot of turmoil and apocalypse too. It seems like Darkseid.
Even after like the whole resolution in like the issue 11.
Yeah,
it's still going on.
Exactly. Well, it seemed like issue 11 was kind of a false alarm. Like you get to the, it seems like
you feel like everything's gonna end so nicely, and then just out of nowhere, Metron comes up and just fucks it all up.
And he's just like, everything he just did wasn't real.
Yep.
And now it kind of puts into perspective. It's like, well, was everything in this whole series real? And I think after reading the last issue, it doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, I don't like. I really, of course, I'm not gonna explain it because it's the last. Like, it's not gonna happen anymore. But like, it feels like the very first few panels. Like, I tried to like make a record of where the first glitches were, the first Darkseid is.
Oh, nice.
Appearance were, and like, the first glitch was page 13 of issue 1, and that was like his little water escape tank, like flashback.
Okay.
So I think the part where he cuts his wrists is real, but then every time you see him glitch,
he killed himself there?
Yeah, I don't know how, but I think he like put himself in some sort of false reality because he has that quote. No, I'm not quoting exactly, but in issue 12, he's like, Oberon's telling him he's in this reality he made up for himself, and he escaped. He chose to kill himself and not escape death, or something like that.
Yeah. So he probably slit his wrists, but he didn't die. Like I think, isn't there a scene where he's in the hospital and Barda's like guilting him for trying to?
Well, how do we know that's not a mixed reality?
That's true. I mean, that's the thing. It all could be. So you kind of have to pick and choose what's real and what's not.
The best part about this, like, it doesn't matter what's real or not, because like all the message of like suicide and anxiety and depression and stuff. That's why I like this so much.
Yeah.
Like I've never related to a comic book more than I have with this one.
I know. I feel the same. And like Mr. Miracle as a character has been around for 40 years, and this is like a very different take.
Yeah.
I've never seen this before.
I was at a comic book store in Haywood, and I saw like Mr. Miracle's in this Sideways book, and so I thought I'd read it because like I love Mr. Miracle now, and I read Mr. Miracle's parts, and it's just a random like Justice League cameo background. Character.
Sideways. I've read the first 2 issues of Sideways, and I liked it, but it definitely seems now he's like that whole character, like he hops around the multiverse, different realities, and sort of thing, and that's his gimmick. Yeah, so he's a father. I want to say that real quick. Like I think the dynamic between Mr. Miracle and Big Barda is something that's really unique to comic books. It's like they are some of the only husband and wife characters.
Unlike Batman and Catwoman.
Yeah, because she left him at the altar. And like, I mean, you have Aquaman and Mira.
Yeah,
that's like one example of like a strong
Lois Lane Superman.
Yeah, they have been married. I don't think they are anymore. No, they are.
I haven't caught up with that.
It's confusing right now. Because they go back and forth. It's like they were and they weren't, and maybe DC's been like kind of averse about having characters stay married for a while. Like they were very against like Batwoman and what's her name, Montoya.
Yeah.
Getting married, but then at the same time they I guess the whole New 52 happened, and that was a way to make Lois Lane and Superman not be married anymore. But Mr. Miracle is a character who has stayed married. Like his relationship with Barda is a very big part of his character.
Yeah, even in the ones that like the comics reference in the walls of the panels, like they're still married in those.
They are, and they, I guess, have been married like a good chunk of their existence. Like I don't know, I haven't read all the Jack Kirby Fourth World stuff. I've read a little bit. I've read the first few issues of Mr. Miracle, but I forget if like Big Barda is like has been a part of his life the whole time. I can't remember. So let us know in the comment box if you do know.
I'm too young to know.
Yeah, right. I feel like I am too. Maybe you're giving me a little too much credit for my age, but we'll see. I mean, I've had to catch up a lot in my life.
I could sneak into my high school if I shaved my beard off and no one would be able to tell.
Yeah, nice. Well, he does shave his beard in the last issue.
Oh yeah, I noticed that.
Speaking of.
So, when he kills himself, he has no beard, clean shaven.
Oh wow, there's
and
weird
then
stuff here.
Grows his beard out as the series progresses, and when he's finally happy again, he cuts his beard off.
Like, I'm doing No Shave November right now because I'm depressed.
But that's something I do too. Like when I'm like really depressed, I don't care enough to shave my beard. I think they like there's a little tiny subtle hint of depression they put in the whole comic. Like it's just slowly growing and growing and growing. Gets to his peak. Eventually, you get happy again. You cut it off and starting over.
I can see that, and like the artist too, Mitch Gerards, who does the art in these books, he has the exact same beard that he drew Mr. Miracle on. His Instagram, like you gotta look him up. It's like this, you can tell this is a very personal book for him, for both the writer Tom King and the artist. but especially the artist, because he also has a 1-year-old child.
Oh.
So he's like a new father. Like, this has been a very personal story for him, and that's awesome.
Yeah, I noticed after every time they like something really significant happens in Apocalypse, like Orion gets killed, then the baby happens, and then Darkseid gets killed, second baby happens.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So it's sort of like celebrating in a way. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking too much into it, but it's kind of weird.
So Darkseid's all about the anti-life equation,
which is like depression in this book.
Yeah, and babies are obviously the anti-life, which would be life.
Yeah.
So I can definitely see that parallel. In the last issue, I just speed read the last issue before doing this recording, so I was like fresh on it. But there's a scene where the actual High Father, like the purple cloak, big white beard guy, he is like, it seems like in this last issue, Mr. Miracle's coming across a bunch of the ghosts that he's encountered.
Yeah, like every single one that's died.
Yeah, everyone who's died, they're all like glitchy in this last appearance.
Which is the biggest hint to all of fake reality and everything.
Right.
And that's what, like, that messed with me, because it sounded like they were talking to him, like, especially with Metron showing up in the last panels of 11.
Yeah.
It sounded like he was talking to him, like, Metron and Oberon and, like, what's her face? Granny Goodness.
Okay, yeah.
Like, they're all existing in the real world trying to talk him out of some reality he's in. Like, he's just, like, in a VR thing or something.
Yeah, I can see that too. And we still don't really know at the end of it. Like, the new gods are definitely not above this VR sort of stuff. Like, there was this device called the Murder Machine that was used in Final Crisis.
Oh, is that the same thing that they use in Dark Knight's Metal? Like, the same... Like Cyborg's
probably
Batman
was because
Murder Machine.
Yeah, because they were kind of tracing through, because in Dark Knight's Metal they were looking at like the sort of dark side multiverse sort of elements to it. That's why they had Baby Darkseid trying to use the mega beams to like replicate that sort of thing that's in Batman Through Time during the Return of Bruce Wayne miniseries.
Is this all New 52 stuff? Because I'm so glad I didn't.
This is actually before. Like,
like
Final Crisis was around like 2009 or so. And so the Murder Machine, like, Batman was strapped up to this thing and he was going through all these hallucinations about his past. Like, he was seeing Alfred and like all these other like a bunch of his villains and stuff. And so they are definitely not above, the new gods are not above doing psychological warfare in that regards.
Because there's just like one throwaway line, and I think the 12th issue where Big Bart is talking about how she got this fancy new mirror. She went through death and pain and torture to get it. She went through death. Maybe, like, because she kills what's his face?
Funky Flashman?
Funky Flash. Like, she kills him, I'm pretty sure, in one of the issues, and then he's just back again. So maybe the gods can come back from death.
Yeah, I think they can. I forget if Funky Flashman is actually a god, though.
Well, he comes through Boom Tomb all the time, so... And he tells him that...
I gotta look him up, because
Orion approves his whole execution... What's it called? Press conference or something.
Yeah, this is a character who's been around in DC for years. Like, I remember reading about Funky Flashman in like the Justice League International comic from the 80s, which Mr. Miracle was a big part of. Yeah, it looks like he was from the original Mr. Miracle series.
Is he not a god person, or?
Let's see.
Because in the issue where Big Barda smashes his face, he's like in the background, chained up to this escape device.
Yeah, so in this comic, I was thinking about this. He does a lot of like playing with action figures. Like, he's kind of the babysitter.
Yeah.
To Scott Free's kid.
That's where the line "Batman kills babies" comes from.
Yeah, exactly. But he's a caricature of Stan Lee.
Oh, that's why he's Excelsior in that issue.
Exactly, and why in this last issue he was like, with great power comes great responsibility.
I thought that was like a callback because Stan Lee died the day before it came out.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Which is why it makes it, I guess, all the more, makes it resonate, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, Funky Flashman was definitely supposed to be a satiric caricature. So that's pretty cool.
Stan Lee's living on through DC.
He is. Yeah, which is probably why he's like, Batman kills babies. Like, you know. Stan Lee would always say that. Like, he, Tom King, the writer of Mr. Miracle, he, like, I mean, over the last couple of days, everyone's been doing their Stan Lee, rest in peace sort of posts, all the comic book people have. And Tom King in particular did one where he was saying, like, I met Stan Lee at a convention, and he was telling him about like his process and what it was like to write for Batman stuff, and he said something like, he patted him on the back. It was like, "That's great, kid, but you should have done that."
Oh yeah,
for Marvel.
I saw that on Reddit.
You should have done that for Marvel or something like that. I don't know. But yeah. Good stuff. So what else did you notice through the series? Since you did your research, I just kind of going on my memory here in my like... I know my new gods pretty well. I've always liked Jack Kirby's Fourth World.
So that guy, like in the very beginning and the very ending of all the issues, there's that narrator guy talking and stuff. And I think he refers to himself as Dr. Bedlam.
Yeah.
So I looked up, and that's like a villain from Mr. Miracle, Dr.
Totally.
Bedlam. But is that actually the narrator, or is that something else? Because that is the villain. That could like put a whole new layer in this whole mixed reality thing.
Yeah, Bedlam's definitely a villain, and he definitely is like specializes in torture and stuff like that. He has been a Mr. Miracle villain pretty often. Yeah, I mean, it's very possible.
I just like, because I love how it's its own thing, but I really want closure on this. Like, I want to know who the narrator is, what this reality is, but we're not going to know.
We'll never know.
It's the good and bad side to this.
It is, yeah. Tom King's a really interesting writer, too. Like, this reminded me a lot of his Rebels comic that he did, which was probably published, it's part of the New 52. It was probably around 2013. And something that was really cool about that book was it was done almost entirely in a 9-panel layout. Like
I love this layout of the book.
Yeah,
so
which
nice.
The 9-panel layouts used a lot.
It's like refreshing.
Yeah, it's like Watchmen made it really popular. It's like a very traditional comic book layout, but he does the same thing in Rebels with a lot of the action sequences.
Oh yeah, that reminds me of both the times they went to Apocalypse, there were just like these amazing action sequences with just regular person dialogue in the background. That was like hilarious.
There were some amazing fight scenes.
Just talking about rearranging furniture and just killing people left and right.
Right.
Killing that dragon in the water.
That was one of my favorite parts. This whole thing. Yeah, and like that's like what Mr. Miracle and Barda do. They just talk about like all our condo and all this, and like their dialogue sounds so boring, but it's like that's love there. You know, it's like all the mundane things, but yeah.
I love all the philosophy stuff that went into this. Like,
nice.
In number 5, they had like this big philosophy discussion. Well, not a discussion, just like a monologue type thing, where he talks about like the phrase "I think, therefore I am." Like, just goes on and on about this, like how God doesn't exist if you doubt yourself, but if you think you exist and God exists, but it's all just like a bunch of logic in someone's head, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's fair too. Yeah, I like that. I think, therefore I am. That makes me think like everyone has the potential to be their own little god in a way.
Yeah, that's like actually completely unrelated to this. Like, I just kind of lie to myself sometimes to get myself out of depression. And, like, I think of how much I improved since I came from high school to college. I think, if you improve this much... This is like a random tangent. It has nothing to do with the book at all. If you improve this much over this amount of time, maybe if you're, like, immortal, you could, like, eventually improve to a god or something.
Maybe. Yeah, in a way. I mean, DC's got their own...
stoner-type philosophy bullshit.
That's fair. But you see, like, characters in DC that are immortal, like Vandal Savage, like, he's gone through all the time, or, like, Ra's al Ghul, or even the Shade from the Starman. Like, I don't know, they kind of...
Batman with his Metron's chair and all that.
That's true.
God.
Yeah, I feel like those characters, though, just go in cycles. It's like, yeah, they're immortal, but they've gone through...
Yeah.
And they just keep trying the same old thing, and, like, Vandal Savage keeps trying to, like... take over humanity to the point where he'll be like the inspiration for Genghis Khan, or he was Hitler or something like that, and it's like, okay, he keeps trying to do that and he keeps getting defeated. Good. He doesn't learn, but he does definitely get more power. Yeah.
And there's another cool part in issue 6 with the whole Orion is like the judge, jury, and executioner trial thing.
Yeah.
And that was also the introduction of the veggie tray.
Yes, that's right.
I love that veggie tray so much. It, like, just the fact that you have superhero god people doing regular people things. Like, Batman never poops, he never sleeps, he never eats. It just brings it, like, grounds it so much into reality. That's what makes it so much more relatable.
Well, you know, Tom King, who is writing the series, he's also writing the Batman comic right now. And there was an issue that he did, I think it was number 54. It was about him and Nightwing right before Nightwing was shot in the head, like we mentioned earlier. And the whole issue is about how Dick Grayson grew up and like Batman and Alfred would feed him cucumber sandwiches, and how Dick Grayson was like, "I fuck cucumber sandwiches. I don't like them.
Fuck Batman."
Fuck Batman. Yeah, but Batman was just like, "Well, you just keep trying them. You're gonna like them if you just keep eating the cucumber sandwiches." It was a really weird tangent, but he went there. So maybe Tom King just has a thing about food. I don't know.
I think it just helps ground things in reality.
He had the
like,
Condiment King in the recent Batman issue too.
And the what? Condiment King. Yeah, I saw that on Reddit. And Nightwing's just standing over there like, I can't believe I'm actually watching this right now.
Exactly. Whereas like the last issue of Mr. Miracle, Scott Free goes to a grocery store to get hot dogs because his kid's out of hot dogs and they have to make dinner. And the guy at the store is like, "No veggie tray for you today?" And Mr. Miracle's like, "No, I'm good. We're good. We don't need a veggie tray."
He's going vegan.
Yeah. No, he's not. He got hot dogs.
Well, I mean, trying to make jokes. That Holocaust story.
Yeah.
That was really weird. In issue 3, he does this whole story about like what Granny Goodness told him about like this Holocaust story where this kid who's a German kid sitting in a classroom, and then his teacher asks him something, forgot exactly what the teacher says. Something about like inviting Jews to Christmas or something or something like that. Or where would the Jews hide? Something that would get him to say, "Oh, well, they can all come to my parents' basement." And then all this fucked up Nazi shit happens, and then all the Jews in their basement die, and then his family goes to the camps, and then they all die, and then the kid dies from being trampled. Like, that's such a really moving story and, like, all fucked up and everything, but I have no idea how that actually relates to Mr. Miracle Super 12 issues at all.
I don't know either. I mean...
Maybe just to show how much Granny tortured them, but I feel like there's more to it than that.
Well, it seems like... I wonder if she's trying to get that person to admit that, like, oh, you know, yeah, they can hide in my basement, but that means, like, you're the one saving the enemy. Like, we're gonna hunt you down and kill you because they were in your basement.
Yeah, just like they killed Forager when he just comes to his house.
That's right, exactly.
That's so sad.
Yeah, it was Foragers.
Like you didn't even know him that well, but you already feel so sad for him when he dies.
And when this series started, there was a Forager comic that was being published by DC. It was
They ended because he died?
I don't think so. It was always a 6-issue miniseries. It was part of the Young Animal line, DC's Young Animal. And it was by the Allred family, which was awesome. Like Mike Allred, who was the illustrator for Marvel's like pretty recent Silver Surfer series. He's done a lot of stuff for Batman 66. Like he has a really cool, clean art style that's really reminiscent of Jack Kirby. Mike Allred did. So Bug the Forger, that was a really good comic too. It was by a Young Animal. It was kind of similar to this too, because like it felt like a bit of a fever dream where he's disassociated from the events happening around him and like kind of just getting thrown through just sort of a dream sequence, which I thought is what Mr. Miracle was for a while, and it seems like, well, maybe it's an afterlife situation. But in this last issue, Highfather had a moment where he appears as a glitch, and then he says something that's like maybe Scott Free was facing the anti-life equation, which was like a test.
He's like, "I'm proud of you, even though you tried and you failed or something." And Scott's like, "Fuck you," and punches him in the face.
Right, yeah.
I love that so much.
Fuck you for failing because I didn't give my son away. That like you gave me away, sort of thing.
That just feels like my pent up rage towards like exaggerated though, but towards my parents, just so much like.
And he has that same moment where he tells Bart about how he was looking at his kid in the eyes, and he's like, "I felt for a minute like I was looking at all the fathers
that was so cool,
and I was looking at all the sons that have ever been held, and like, you know, Highfather like he gave Scott Free up to help the pact between New Genesis and Apocalypse, like that. It was this son exchange that helped them find peace for so long. And that's what made it so hard for Mr. Miracle to have that deal with Darkseid to trade their sons. Or I guess it wasn't like a trade sons thing. It was like he had to give him
for the deal of the
new
war
son.
Compensation.
Whose name is Jack, right?
Jacob,
which might be short. Like Jack could be it for short. Jacob
Kirby.
Was it Jacob Kirby? It probably is. Maybe.
It was Jacob for sure, but I don't know his last name. Jacob Free, obviously, I guess.
Yeah, Jack Kirby was born Jacob.
Oh, look at that.
I'm sure.
Oh, it's got to be on purpose, yeah.
That was on purpose. Just like how Funky Flashman was Stanley. So, that's awesome. So he has a daughter at the end of it, coming soon, who made me think of Grant Morrison put out a book as part of the Multiversity comic That was it was the Just, and I forget which issue it was, but it was set on like a parallel Earth. It was Earth 16, but there was a character in that, and her name was Sister Miracle, not Mr. Miracle.
Oh my
but
God.
Sister Miracle, and yeah, I don't know. I thought like, oh, maybe this like daughter will grow up to be Sister Miracle.
How long ago was that comic made?
It was probably 2 years ago.
Yeah, there's no way they could have planned ahead for that.
No. It wasn't playing ahead thing, but like every now and then DC does like the kind of thing where they'll just, yeah. But yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe not. But it was a thing.
Yeah. Oh, I love this part in number 8 where they're doing all the war sequences and stuff, and then Scott has to go up against Kanto to like decide stuff about the war, and he gets his ass whooped so much. And then in issue 12,
was that this comic where he spits down the well?
I think that's the one before it.
Oh, okay, I love that scene though, where it's like 2 pages of like Kanto narrating while the spit is dropping, and then it ends up dropping on Scott Free's head as a prisoner. Yeah.
I don't think that was him as a prisoner, was it?
I thought it was.
I thought it was just a random prisoner.
I thought it was him. I thought it was Scott Free at the bottom of that well too.
We'd
have to go back and look.
He didn't have a beard, so.
Well, does he go in and out of having that beard?
I think it was just there the whole time, and then he shaves it off in the end.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
I gotta reread to do. I got a beard timeline.
Yeah, I just skimmed through the whole thing like an hour or 2 ago, just to double check. But and then in issue 12, so Scott gets his ass whooped by Kanto in issue 8. And issue 12, Big Barda just like one punches him down.
Yeah.
That's the end of that.
Yeah. The one punch also might have been an allusion to like the Justice League International thing, because Mr. Miracle is part of that team, but there's a very famous sequence where Batman one punches Guy Gardner.
Yep.
Yeah.
They did that same thing in Batman the Brave and the Bold.
Yeah. You got to. The one punch.
Yeah. I love how and I think whichever issue it is before they decide to go and kill Orion, Mr. Miracle is trying to decide whether he should stay or go, and then Big Barda's like, no, it's not my choice to decide whether you live or die. It's your own life. I'm just your wife. Yeah. And in the end, she finally tells him, like, stay. That's like the most badass part of Big Barda's arc in this story, I think.
Yeah, it really was. And she was incredible.
Yeah.
She was written so well during this whole thing.
Like, I think the only time I ever saw Big Barda in, like, comics or media before was, like, in Brave and the Bold, where she's, like, this background character in this weird, over-the-top race that all the characters are doing. This is so much better than that in every single way.
I've always liked how Big Barda was in the Justice League and Batman Beyond. So there was Justice League Unlimited team.
How did I forget that? Oh my god.
And Barda was like a huge part of that team.
Yeah, she looks so different. That's probably why I forgot.
Yeah, she's got like the red sort of like bathing suit looking uniform going on instead. Yeah. Which is cool. That's how she, looks under her blue armor, I guess. Good for her. Yeah, she was kind of a Wonder Woman substitute when she was using Batman Beyond.
Yeah. Back to that whole mixed reality thing. Like, I think I didn't read Reddit threads that suggested this before that, but I started to catch on myself to the whole mixed reality thing when they showed Mr. Miracle and Big Bar just like basically killing Darkseid effortlessly.
Yeah.
Because she pulls out that giant, super awesome baby cart.
His throne room, and they're ready to do the baby trade.
And then the baby cart is actually a super cool laser.
Yeah.
And it actually affects Darkseid somehow, even though obviously it wouldn't kill him. But then Big Barda doesn't die with one punch of Darkseid. I feel like Darkseid could kill Big Barda in one punch. I don't know too much about like comic things. But then also Mr. Miracle gets beaten down by Darkseid. He doesn't die. And he's just like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, and stabs him to death. That seems too easy.
Doesn't it did. Well, that's why it was fake.
Yeah.
Because it was too easy.
It was just him getting closure on stuff. Like that was like part of the whole depression, fake reality thing.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, even in like other storylines, I don't think Darkseid has ever actually died. Like, I mean, they've killed him off in the Darkseid War, and he was reborn as his own baby. As his own baby. Or I think.
That's what made it weird, too, because this came after Dark Knight's Metal.
His daughter's baby, but I forget who the father is, technically. Maybe he was like I don't know. But yeah, he definitely ended up being born from his daughter, Grail. And then in the Wonder Woman series, it was probably around issue number 35 of the Rebirth series, like baby Darkseid ends up rapidly aging.
Oh my God.
Again, but he's not like an adult right now. He's
like 25.
Yeah, he's probably 25 because he's a member of the Justice League Odyssey
so
book
weird
now, and yeah, he hasn't quite like it looks like he's wearing a hood. He hasn't grown into his.
He looks kind of like some actor. I forgot his name, but he looks like an actor in that panel where like he's this big face on the one panel thing.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, he's definitely Darkseid's. Yeah, he's going through weird stuff, which even makes me think more that the Mr. Miracle series is like definitely out of continuity.
Yeah, because the second I saw him as an adult, there's no way like it made sense because he was a baby in Dark Knight Metal. That's the most recent thing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
well, at least when that issue was out for Mr. Miracle, it was the most recent thing. So. Oh, I forgot to mention this. Metron saying you are not to know the face of God. I don't know what that means.
You are not to know the face of God. Maybe that means like Scott Free's not supposed to be a god. Like a real god.
He says he sees the face of God when Darkseid kills Orion.
And
then they do a similar panel in the 12th issue. It's not the same like quotes and everything of when he's a kid in the diagonal line.
That's right. Like the kid kind of looking at the
right there. You flip right to it.
Mm-hmm. That was an earlier issue too, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the very first one.
Okay, that's why.
And that's when he says in the text bubble. He says in the first one, I drew God.
That's
so now we know what his face looks like.
Yeah.
And now he says he's trying to escape when he closes his eyes. I don't know poetry that so much, but like this feels like poetry when I'm reading this book.
It is. Yeah, it's definitely a poetic book.
There's so much symbolism, and like it starts with him in the hospital. And it ends with him in the hospital because now they're having a baby and they're happy.
Exactly. It's definitely poetic. Like, this is, I look forward to reading it all back to back.
Yeah, I can't wait to get the whole issue. Like the 12
Yeah, and kind of give it more of an in-depth look through. Because it was an amazing, like, even reading it month to month, like, this was a book that was at the top of my reading list. For sure. This
is honestly like the perfect time it could have come out. Because I was just like super depressed. This is my last semester of college. It's the hardest one by far. Super depressed. This book helped me get through depression a little bit. Nice. It's so good.
That's good, man. I graduated in 2014, and I'm trying to remember what came out because like comics have always helped me get through whatever. Like I can definitely think of like major events that have happened, like when Batman died in Final Crisis and like other things like that. I can look and think back at that and be like, okay, that's where I was in my life at that point. Which really puts things in perspective when you're like, wow, that happened when I was living at that apartment or going through that. And like, it doesn't feel like that long ago in comic book line, but like that feels longer in my life. So I don't know. But yeah, that's the beauty of comic books. They keep making them. And they'll always be there.
Because the money always is there.
Yeah.
At least Batman, Superman. I don't know about the rest of them. But.
That's right. Yeah, maybe not Mr. Miracle, but they do have a New Gods book coming out pretty soon. They just announced, not New Gods, sorry, Female Furies is technically.
With all the crazy people from Mr. Miracle? Obviously not this continuity, but.
The artist Mitch Gerard said something on Instagram lately about like it not being related to this book at all.
Yeah, it can't be.
Yeah, but Big Barda is going to be a part of it.
Oh, nice.
And I want to just look real quick to see which creative team is involved so I can name drop that correctly. Alright, so it looks like it is going to be written by somebody. Cecil Castellucci, who recently wrote the Shade the Changing Girl for DC's Young Animal. So that is cool. That was a cool book. It was really trippy. It's gonna, honestly, it might be similarly trippy to Mr. Miracle. So if you enjoyed that, the Female Furies book might be a good one to check out next. Who's it gonna be drawn by? It is
Mitch Gerard's, or you said Mitch Gerard was doing this one too, right?
Mitch Gerard's did Mr. Miracle.
I thought I heard you mention that he's doing Furies too.
Mitch Gerard's did the cover for yeah, he's doing the cover for Furies. But I'm not sure who the interior artist is. Oh well. Whatever.
We'll find out.
It's coming out. Yeah, it's coming out soon. It should be good. I hope. Yeah, it seems like they're getting ready for Ava DuVernay's New Gods movie
Wait, there's a movie?
Yeah, they're gonna
like a DC
extended universe. It's called The New Gods. Yeah,
like the same Wonder Woman universe.
Yeah,
I never heard about this. What is Mr. Miracle gonna be in it?
I hope so. He better be.
He better be this version of Mr. Miracle. Yeah. I don't want that sideways bullshit.
No, honestly, I would be surprised if he's the main character. I have no idea what to expect.
I just want like a 1-minute clip or something of him.
They're making a movie. It's going to be directed by Ava DuVernay, who did the recent Wrinkle in Time movie for Disney.
Oh, nice.
So same director.
I don't know why. If maybe it's just like I'm always too bored with actual school stuff, so I'm always imagining things. But I feel like this 12-issue series could work really well as a movie.
Yeah.
Like it's got the whole hero's arc. He starts where he comes back and or he starts somewhere, comes where he starts with new information and everything, whole big arcs and everything, returning to. It's got the whole hero story elements like just scattered throughout it.
It really does. I wonder if it would be an effective movie though. I almost feel like it does better as a comic. Some stories do.
There's just too much happy. I mean, I guess for Marvel, obviously, but DC has its own share of shitty, depressing movies. But I feel like this would work really well as a depressing movie because it's actually about depression.
Yeah, no, for real. It's there'd be a lot going for it. We'll see. I mean, hopefully it serves to like tell DC to do more books like this, like to take a character who
more
maybe,
one-shots.
Yeah, who isn't like maybe as in the public eye as like a Batman or Superman, but like take characters like Mr. Miracle or like I know there's a Shazam book coming soon. Like I mean Shazam's a big character too, but
I think like Ted Kord could work really well because everyone knows the Jaime Reynolds or whatever his last name is.
Yeah. Blue Beetle would be a great character to, and like Ted Kord is now the Blue Beetle in the comics again. I think Jaime Reyes is still around there.
Jaime Reyes, that's his name.
But yeah,
I think Ted Kord can work better as like his own tiny book.
He's a very depressed hero.
Yeah, and he has to like make everything from scratch. He doesn't have his own Blue Beetle control like Jaime Reyes does.
Right before they killed him off, and right before Infinite Crisis, he and Barbara Gordon were kind of dating. Ted Kord and Barbara Gordon.
Is this like a Killing Joke thing again?
No. It was kind of sad because Barbara, like, she liked him, but never really like sealed the deal because she and Nightwing had all this history, and Nightwing
was Barbara still 20 or something in that comic?
No. This is like Oracle, like she's leading the Birds of Prey and everything. Like she's well established. She's an adult.
So not looking for a sugar daddy like
no. No, she Ted Kord is kind of helping her with her tech and considered him a friend, and he definitely wanted more, but she was in the Nightwing, and it was a whole thing.
Whenever there's Nightwing involved, it's got to be a love triangle.
Yeah, exactly, because you can't really beat Nightwing.
Can't beat that ass.
That's what he's known for. Dick Grayson. It's all full circle now. That's how we started this chat, and that's how we'll end it. Well, on that note, man, Sahil. I told you I messed up the
word
time.
side and the word hill.
Oh, Sahil. Silent Hill.
It's like Sai, then Hill, then Dove, then N.
Who?
That's how I put it on Twitter and stuff.
Sahil, Dove, End.
No, an N, like the letter N.
Okay, well, I was saying it's End.
Good pun. Good pun.
But no, it's not. All right. Well, yeah, it's been good talking to you.
Yeah,
I'm
nice
glad
talking to
you
you
were on
too.
the show. I hope this is good. James, edit that last part out. It's been a great talk.
Yeah, it's been great.
For sure.
Now we're back.
What? You can't do it once.
Psst. All right, now we're back.
Never gets old.
Miracle is awesome.
Before we move to comic relief, I do want to touch on our website is like officially up. Not the one that has all the information that you've been wanting for a long time, but an actual homepage.
WatchtowerDatabase.com. Yeah, it's a bit of a launching board. It's got the podcast, the comic, the YouTube channel.
It's not just a page that says under construction anymore. It's like a real interactive thing. And I was going to say, you can listen to the podcast directly on WatchtowerDatabase.com. It's just embedded into the page, like the feed. So
nice. And
I've already tested it on my phone. You can also just hit play and close minimize the app or whatever, and it still plays in the background. So if you don't want to have to keep YouTube open on your phone, or if you don't want to listen to us on iTunes for whatever reason, even though you should, and you should leave us a 5-star review,
please.
Then you can listen to it on the website.
A 12-star review.
Oh,
because
leave us 2 5-star reviews and 1 2-star
or 3 4-star reviews.
Oh.
That's
I like
good.
that one
That's
better.
Yeah.
It won't fuck with the.
It'll be a better average.
Mathematics, yeah.
Or 4 3-star reviews if you don't
nah.
like us that much.
Yeah,
don't do that.
I like the one.
3 4-star reviews.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's also merch. Technically exists now. You may see it beneath our videos, like such as this one if you're watching on YouTube. I have yet to figure out a way to tell it which ones to show, so it's just going to show whatever one it feels
random.
like showing. I think it might be showing a 12th level Intellects one, but I might be wrong. But yeah, there's
you can
a 12th
get that.
level
There's the logo.
There's logo shirts, yeah. Watchtower Database logo, Vanishing Point, Maddie's like, face is on there. There's also a couple of unique dank memes like egg baby
Keep
sound
up log a
effects.
secret.
Yeah, keep that blog a secret. There's also one that's just a giant block of text that says, "Why was there a yellow bat suit in Star-Crossed, you madman?"
Yeah.
So there's a couple of those that are pretty good. I would wear them myself if I wanted to.
You should want to.
Yeah. I should get one for. We should all get ones for when we go to the Comic-Con together, so that we're wearing.
Yeah, we'll talk about that soon. We'll announce that it's not.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we can. Whatever. Yeah, we're gonna go to Emerald City Comic-Con in Seattle in March. But
all trace of us, me, Ted, and Kevin. Matthew Kevin Washburn.
Nice. That'll be fun. We'll probably talk more about that closer to it.
It's not. You'll forget by the time it happens.
It's like 4 months from now.
Anyway, what did you read in the comic time?
I actually went to a Comic-Con myself.
Yes, you did.
Over the weekend. I want to talk about that real quick.
Okay.
Keep it short. It was the North Carolina Comic-Con in Durham, so NC Comic-Con Bull City. I got to meet a couple of writers that I really admire, particularly James Robinson, who wrote the Starman series. It's one of my favorite.
Yeah, you got stuff signed
DC
by
comics.
him. That's pretty sweet.
I have this like omnibus edition that I got him to sign, and it was funny because he left like half a quote in it, and he told me that he'd finish the quote next time I see him, whether that be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, whatever. And he left a little message that said something like, "We are all of us of the gutter, ... And then he started telling me about how one time he mistook cocaine for heroin. And I don't know what type of person he thought I was. But
which issue of Starman was he writing at the time?
Yeah, right? No, he was actually writing this series called Astro Boy. No, not Astro. What was it called?
He created the original 1940s cartoon
it wasn't Astro Boy. No, it wasn't that. It was Airboy or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look it up because it sounded crazy.
It was called Castro Boy.
It
was a small Fidel
I'll
Castro.
find it and I'll let you know how Airboy is. Besides James Robinson, I met a couple other people. Jeff Lemire, he's the guy who did Sweet Tooth for Vertigo. Right now he's been doing Black Hammer, which is the creator-owned book. I think he's doing it for Dynamite. I could be wrong. I forget which.
I believe you.
He's also doing Royal City for Image and Gideon Falls. So he's an incredibly talented, creative person. He worked for DC, did Green Arrow and Animal Man, among a couple other things. So it was really cool to meet him, get some stuff signed.
Yeah, no, I was surprised that like I recognized his name and didn't remember why. And then when you showed me the Starman stuff, it's like, oh, that's your like favorite thing. And
James Robinson. Yeah. I saw him do a panel with Gerard Way, who's from the Umbrella Academy and My Chemical Romance. So
okay.
He's the frontman for that. Now he's doing comic books. He was doing Doom Patrol for DC. And it was a really cool panel. It was about finding your voice as a writer. And they talked a lot about like what it was like working for other people's properties, like characters that aren't your own.
So a former member of My Chemical Romance is writing comics now?
The frontman, yeah.
See, I don't know the band. I'm sorry. I don't care.
It's okay. Yeah, he's writing comic books. He's got a huge following. Most of the people there at the panel were teenage girls who were more interested in My Chemical Romance than they were his comic book work.
Is that band, again, I apologize to Maddie and anyone that's listening that cares.
Yeah, Maddie is killing you right now.
Does the band still exist? Are they still active?
I don't think so. They recently put out like a 10-year anniversary for Welcome to the Black Parade album. Yeah, I don't know. They were like emo rock sort of stuff.
Yeah, no, I know of them. I just never have cared about them. I like the Black Parade song because they're in like talk about marching band. That's all I care about. So.
Hey, there you go. I don't think they're still touring right now though. But it was interesting. James Robinson and him, and they were also joined with Jeff Parker, who's a writer for Future Quest, the comic, like the Johnny Quest Space Ghost comic.
Related to Peter Parker of Spider-Man fame?
Yes.
Wow, that's cool. And also a drummer for My Chemical Romance.
I don't know about that. But anyway, that's all I had to say about Comic-Con.
Okay. Can we now do comic relief? Every time I try to go to the next section, you're like, no, I have one more thing to talk about because I'm Ted.
We gotta fluff this podcast up to the full amount of time.
Hey,
yeah, I'm down. Let's talk about some comic books. Again,
okay.
Some more comic books. So I read a few things.
Yeah. Okay. Well, talk about you got to pick 2. Maximum.
I have 3. Okay, so
that's not what I said.
I read the Green Lantern by Grant Morrison. That one was awesome. That was a lot of fun. It was like Grant Morrison was born to write Green Lantern. Obviously, he Grant Morrison is like a renowned comic book writer. He's
one of your faves
Batman.
As well.
Yeah, he's a favorite of mine. He did a JLA run in the 90s.
Have you ever gotten him to sign things of yours?
I've never met him, but I can't wait. I'd love to meet him one day. Yeah, he's definitely...
Well, we know he listens to this podcast, so
I would be so
come
surprised.
On over.
I've definitely watched videos of him on YouTube.
Oh, wow, he's on YouTube?
He's a self-professed chaos magician, too. And that is a fascinating... thing, which is why he's perfect for Green Lantern, because not to get too far in the rabbit hole, maybe we can do a special episode about Ted Talks Chaos Magic some other time.
There's a lot of comic Ted Talks that won't get confusing
Ted Talks,
for anybody.
There we go.
Have I told
Magic
you about
Hour.
There's like a building on the highway back to the town I live in that just has a sign in the window that says, "We're on YouTube." And I always pass that and go, wow, like what an accomplishment. Not just everybody can do that.
So am I.
Yeah, what's coincidence? Anyway.
But yeah. So I'm not getting too far into that, but willpower is the essence of chaos magic. It's the essence of Green Lantern.
It sure is.
And that it's all about like Green Lantern's like he makes things out of his ring. And this comic in particular starts off with it actually we don't even see Hal Jordan until like the middle of the issue. It starts with like these random Green Lanterns that are kind of figuring out this mystery. Like there's they just keep jumping around different planets and different lantern sectors, and there's some really crazy concepts out there. There's until it finally gets to Earth. It's like these 2 aliens break out of a prison, steal a ship, and they end up going to Earth. And one of them is this like giant, well, he's not giant at first, but he's this chipmunk-looking guy. And I forget what the other. I think the other one's a robot. No, it's not Chip, but it might be. It's like it's different sort of species, but like definitely a beaver-looking thing. And he gets this magical artifact. I forget what it's called, but it's like a lucky dial or something like that. It's some sort of luck artifact that lets them like just have all this power. So the chipmunk. It's like a wishing device. So he ends up wishing to be this giant, like King Kong sized chipmunk, except Hal Jordan ends up fighting him and defeats him by like making the chipmunk get so big that his like skeletal system can't hold the weight, and so his legs break. And it's like the weirdest thing. Yeah, it is really fucked up in a way.
Hal Jordan's always using his clever thinking to get through situations.
No, he is not clever. He's definitely the like Green Lantern who like figures shit out by like the seat of his pants. Like he does
that
not
sounds like
anything.
A like 60s comic where he just has like 7 thought bubbles that are all like, if only I could figure out a way to defeat this large chipmunk. Perhaps if I trick him into growing 10,000 times his original size, his legs will break. And then they do.
And then they do. Yep. So that was crazy. There's a lot of really amazing art in it. Liam Sharp is the artist, and there's like this one page of Oa where you kind of see like the outer planet of it, but then you see the inner makings of like what it takes for the central battery on Oa to be powered, and that was a really cool page. There was like Grant Morrison's scripts are always so in depth that the artists, like, they usually don't have panels laid out or anything like that. It's just like a bombardment of ideas, and it takes the artist like so much like, you know, they have to really plan that out.
I'm
and get
glad
to the
we
core
do
of
not
it.
work this way. You very
down.
specific.
Yeah, I try to be specific in my writing. I mean,
Can
and
you
not
like
to say
draw
that
the
Grant Morrison isn't
concept of
specific.
will for me, please?
Yeah, exactly. But near the end of the issue, it starts to even go into like multiverse sort of territory.
Of course
Like it seems like it'll tie into multiversity. Grant Morrison wrote that.
That's
2
like
years
his
ago.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. There, it looks like the antimatter universe is going to be a big part of it. And there used to be, I mean, in previous comics, there's been an antimatter Justice League, and the Green Lantern of that, it's like a yellow lantern. It looks like Hal Jordan, but he's yellow. And you see that guy at the very end of the issue, and it looks like he's being experimented on by the Controllers. And the Dark Stars were the team that was, they were like kind of like a Green Lantern Corps, but they were controlled by the Controllers rather than the Guardians of Oa. Yeah, the Controllers control things.
The Weaponers and all that stuff.
Yeah, and they kind of ended up, the Controllers had the Orange Lantern.
Oh, right. Oh,
sort of power later. Anyway, long story short, multiverse stuff. There was a really cool teaser page at the end, like a double page splash page thing with like upcoming storylines.
Is this a new
thing?
Like
it was at the very end of the Green Lantern book. Yeah, it came out like last week, I think. 2 weeks
Does it
ago,
lead
probably.
into, because I've read Hal Jordan is getting a new title.
This is the new title. That's
okay.
Yeah. And so like over the next year we can expect like a team up with Green Arrow and do like that classic thing.
Yeah.
There was a whole like page of multiverse Green Lanterns.
Get Mike
like
Grell on the Writers Guild.
There we go. We really should. But it was an awesome book. I'm glad I read it. I'm looking forward to the rest of the series.
Well, before you say your final thing, I might as well talk about Blackest Night, because that's what I've been reading.
Ooh, yes.
As of yesterday.
Nice.
Because I had a 6-hour bus ride home from seeing Mask of the Phantasm in a different city. So I just bought Blackest Night at a comic store. And I've been wanting to read this since it came out years and years ago. Like when we were in high school, I think maybe even. And he, like, it's infamous, like it's one that you're supposed to read and blah blah blah, but like I have your giant list of like, you gotta read this first, kid, you gotta read this and then this and then the Rage of the Red Lanterns, and then you gotta read this, and so I've just been putting it off and trying to buy them in the correct order. But I was like, if I'm just gonna have one comic to read on the bus, like it should probably be one that I know is gonna be good. And it did have a little like catch you up thing at the start, like this is what's been going on and now here you are, and there was not a lot of it, like explained. It was a very short like chunk of information, and it included like the Guardians made power rings and they gave them to people across the cosmos and all this stuff, and I was like, yeah I got that. And then it's like, and then Sinestro was a Green Lantern, but then he was bad, and I was like, yeah, okay, I got that. And then and then he formed his own, like,
Sinestro core.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, we're getting to the new stuff. And then it just suddenly said, like, and now here we are. I'm like, no, there's like 6 more books. What's been going on?
It's details.
Yeah, and you told me like Final Crisis is in the middle of all that too, and so it's just like, maybe I should know these things. But
yeah, Final Crisis was like right before Blackest Night.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure you probably started reading. You saw Barry Allen was there.
Yeah, it was very
he had just come back.
Yeah, it was like Barry's back and Batman's dead and all this stuff. It's like, okay, thanks.
They both happened in that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Aquaman was dead, but he came back in Final Crisis. But that was a false alarm because it wasn't really him, although he was like in a couple panels. That was a strange thing. He kind of died off like they killed Aquaman off shortly after 1 year later, like Infinite Crisis. Like it was so strange. Aquaman turned into like a Davy Jones guy from Pirates of the Caribbean, like a squid,
a crusty crustacean, you might say.
Yeah, a crusty crustacean, exactly. And then he ended up just kind of like dying in the bottom of the ocean, and it was the weirdest thing.
Yeah, the only panel they showed of him is just like his dead body on the ocean floor, and then they show like crusty? His grave is on the lighthouse or whatever. So.
Yeah, super crusty.
Yeah, he's being all crusty. But yeah, there was a lot of... I was glad that they did a giant exposition dump at the start of the thing, because then I was pretty much caught up to what was happening. Like, I don't know why half this stuff happened, but it was
probably issue number 0 that you read first.
Yeah, it has like a prologue thing in it, yeah. Mm-hmm. Which ends with Batman's skull being pulled out of his grave.
Yeah. By Black Hand. Yeah,
I like how the black rings are like, people keep saying that they sound like a bunch of flies and stuff like that, like, and they're just like a locust swarm going through the cosmos.
Yeah, that's cool.
This is one of those comics where, like, if people talk about it being so daunting to try to get started in comics because you're reading one story and it references things that happened in 6 other stories, and so you feel like you're supposed to have read those and stuff like that, and this kind of feels like that. And also from all the stuff I have said, but also because of like Firestorm isn't Ronnie Raymond and Professor Stein, it's Jason something and some Asian girl, and I was like, what is going on? I don't know what this is. And
Jason Rush and
Jen something.
Jen, I forget her name too. I read that Firestorm series. Yeah,
but like that's something that I just kind of brushed off as like, I guess it's this now, but I could see someone totally being like, well, god damn it, I don't know what's happening and stuff. So but it's pretty good. So I'm over halfway through it. I'm not going to talk too much about it for people who haven't read it, I guess, but I would recommend it, you know. It's good. Yeah. It's got cool stuff. It's got you should read it, Ted. I know you haven't.
I have.
It's
I like every tie-in. They resurrected the Starman series just for that. There was a special that was a thing they did was they like resurrected 8 comic series that had been canceled by DC for one issue, which featured some characters as Black Lanterns. Okay, so that was pretty fun.
Well, I like how it's just building off of how so many people die in Final Crisis or whatever, that they're like, well, now that you're dead, guess what? You're not dead anymore.
Can I ask a question that's a bit of a spoiler? If you haven't read it, you might want to tune out for a second. But in the first issue, don't Hawkman and Hawkgirl get murdered?
Yeah.
Okay, that's funny because they died in Final Crisis, but that was something that like it was kind of off panel. Like you see some feathers fall out of the sky after Hawkman and Hawkgirl like go in a battle. Oh, okay. And so that's something DC editorial changed afterwards. They were like, actually, we're not going to kill Hawkman and Hawkgirl. We're going to kill them off in Blackest Night instead.
In this one, yeah.
So whatever you saw in Final Crisis, just don't worry about that.
Weird. Here? It's ambiguous.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because at the end of the Sinestro Corps book, there's like you see the Anti-Monitor on like dead on a moon or whatever it's alluded to, and like then they're saying that that's what the Black Lantern's like growing out of is his corpse or whatever. So that's at least been brewing for a little while. Like they knew they were gonna do something.
Yeah. It's honestly kind of planting the seeds even to Darkseid War later on in a way. Because he's the opponent.
Probably didn't know fully what that was going to be, but
like Jeff Johns is building to something with the Anti-Monitor, and that's ultimately
well, actually, how does that work? Because that's New 52.
Yeah, my understanding is Jeff Johns was going to write the Justice League book after Flashpoint, and they ended up making it a full reboot of the universe. Mm-hmm. So his first arc would have been something like Throne of Atlantis, that wouldn't have been set in a rebooted world, but then he had to go back and write the origin story instead, and that ended up being the first.
But so how does the Anti-Monitor play into... I mean, I guess I'll just end up reading it, but like he obviously comes back in some way.
You know, there's a sequel, Brightest Day, was like a bi-weekly series that came out after Blackest Night. And so that's Brightest Day kind of picks up on some plot threads that Blackest Night leaves.
Do the monitors like exist outside of the like the bleed and all that stuff where all the universes occur in? So they're like separate, like the one from the original Crisis on Infinite Earths is the same one that we see in Metal and stuff like that, or whatever.
Yeah. They could travel between the bleed. Like they have technology and ships that are able to do that. So
it's not a rebooted Anti-Monitor. It's the same Anti-Monitor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, this is the same Anti-Monitor for all intents and purposes.
That all makes sense.
Sort of. It's complicated. And reboots happen. It's the same way you got to think about Crisis on Two Earths, the movie, how it like has DNA tied to the DC animated universe, but it's also it had to be changed slightly.
That'll be coming up soonish. Our
you're doing a canon
video, when we return from our break in a few days.
Nice.
So
well, I guess I will talk about my other book, unless you had anything else.
Sure,
about
that's
Blackest
fine.
Night.
And we got some letters from people that we can read.
Okay, sweet. I read a book called The Seeds. It was a
I'm gonna eat this tortilla while you talk about it.
Okay, don't crunch too loud.
It's
a soft tortilla. That's good. All right, thank God. So The Seeds was a Dark Horse book. It was one of the first books from Burger Books, which is Karen Berger. Used to be one of the head
produced
editors.
By Burger King?
And Bob's Burgers. Yeah.
Sorry.
But no, Karen Berger worked at Vertigo for a long time, for like over 20 years. She had a very long career there. And she is the person responsible for getting Neil Gaiman on Sandman. So Karen Berger is a very, very important person in the comic book industry.
Bless her burger.
Yeah, exactly. Well done, for sure. So that was a burger joke. All right, so she left Vertigo Comics and went to Dark Horse to create her own publishing imprint, and The Seeds is one of them, the first of that imprint. So The Seeds was, oh god, I can't remember the writer, but it's being drawn by David Aja, I think is his last name.
David Ogden Stiers? The voice of
AJA.
The Clock and Beauty
I think
and the
it's
Beast?
Aja. I don't know. But he's known, you might know this guy from his work doing Hawkeye with Matt Fraction from Marvel.
Okay.
That book was really popular for a while, and he had a really cool stylized art style there that he's bringing to this book, The Seeds. And this is set in a kind of near future dystopian world where there's like this wall that's in the middle of the city, and it's a lot like the Berlin Wall in a way. Everyone's kind of wondering what's on the other side. There are people who jump over the wall and are never seen or heard from again. There's a lot of stuff going on with like bees, a lot of bee imagery, like worker bees, queen bees, that sort of thing. The main character is a journalist. Main character is a journalist who's writing about the wall and trying to get behind some of the mystery surrounding it, and ends up coming across this alien conspiracy. There's like a nightclub where like children are kind of being trafficked, and she goes to this alley and she snaps a photo on her phone, and it's like a alien looking dude, like a gray, like big-eyed, sort of big head looking alien.
Got bee looking guy.
Yeah, he's not a bee. He's definitely like straight up alien. This is a world where aliens are normal yet. So now it's like an alien conspiracy.
Bees are
She's
not.
getting to the bottom of it. She's decided not to give this article to her bee of a bitch boss. Instead is doing some investigative journalism. I don't know, it was a really interesting story. The art's amazing. The writing was great. There's a lot of imagery with like gas masks too. Like it's like the atmosphere's like kind of poisoned right now, so everyone has to wear like it looks like the Golden Age Sandman, like it's like a gas mask. So that's a really cool aesthetic. But I'd recommend it. The
gas mask.
Big old gas mask with a big old tube that you have to breathe through. Cool stuff. Very gritty.
This is people that listen all the way to this point in the podcast they always get some sort of kooky suggestion from you.
I like to read random things. Yeah. I, at least lately.
Like I'm over here reading Green Lantern and watching Batman Mask of the Fantastic.
I read Green Lantern. I talked about Green Lantern earlier. I'm not above it, but I do, I try to look for the quality too. Not that those books aren't quality, but like independent creator-owned sort of stuff.
Don't dig yourself too deep of a hole there. I got you. I read the first 2 issues of the 1980s The New Teen Titans also.
Oh, okay.
Because it was on
the Marv Wolfman, George Perez.
Yeah. I was in a bookstore on my bus 2-hour layover, so I just grabbed that and was reading it while I charged my phone. And it's like them saving Starfire from the Gordanians, and Raven is giving Robin premonitions and stuff like that. It was kind of cool. I could definitely see the influence on the cartoon and stuff like that. So
it's a good series, and a lot of it is on the DC Universe streaming app.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, I will probably keep reading it on there because it is dated in its like presentation and some of the references and stuff like that. Like it's bordering on racist how Cyborg speaks in all of his speech bubbles. It's very like all the G's on ing words are taken off, and all the like he says shorty a lot.
Does he say booyah? Shorty.
Yeah, I don't think he hasn't said booyah yet, but it was cool though. All right, we got messages from people that I gotta read off my phone now.
Untitled mail segment.
Yes, I'll try to keep these semi-brief here. This one's from Chris Hastings. He's written in a few times. He wrote in after, I think this is maybe, this is before we put out the Scarecrow issue, but not very far before it. He says, "Hey guys, thought I'd write in another letter. Loving the podcast as usual and really enjoying all the good work you guys put into it and the channel." Oh, thank you, Chris. So 2 quick questions for you guys. 1, what did you guys think of Wonder Woman being Hades' daughter? Personally, I felt like it was thrown in half-baked. A shame that JLU ended before the writer could do anything interesting with it. Did we talk about this already last time?
Maybe briefly. Yeah, I've always liked that plot point. I think it gives Wonder Woman a lot more depth than being like a perfectly sculpted person,
Yeah.
Like she has like it's been a secret. Like it was a myth that she was sculpted from clay, and then she figures out the truth. Like, oh wow, yeah, I never was. It's like,
I think in the cartoon which is I think what he's asking about. I think it's
it is, yeah.
That she
in the comics it's Zeus who's her father.
Yeah. I think like that's the Zeus thing is
similar
that Zeus and Hippolyta like actually just naturally created a baby the way that all people create babies. But that I think in JLU it's like implied that Hades just helped her sculpt Wonder Woman or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So
or that could just be a metaphor,
Right. I molded you. No, I think, I don't know. It's the same for me. Like, it was probably different for you sometimes at least, but since these shows were always what I know of these characters before ever reading any comics, then it's never bothered me when literally anything happens. Like, I'm never offended by, like, Batman would never da-da-da, like, but he just did, so I guess he must, So,
yeah.
So I'm fine with it. It's fine.
Yeah, well, in the New 52 Wonder Woman series, that's when they revealed it was Zeus who was her father, and that was definitely more like a straightforward, like, okay, yeah, that's a secret that was kept her whole life, and it's a big shock.
And Chris says that he thinks it's a shame that the writers never could do anything interesting with it, but I think that's interesting enough to just leave it on like a empty, like she'll never know or she'll never accept that or whatever.
And if you liked Hades' little appearance in our Legacies issue, you can expect to see him again later.
You very well might. He says, secondly, why do you think after retiring Bruce never used his wealth to help fight crime? Just something curious I was wondering about lately. Also, instead of doing a segment on eating a lemon, do a segment on trying different shots named after DC heroes. I swear we read this. Maybe we read this. Did I talk about doing shots named after DC heroes?
The Green Lantern, we could do some absinthe.
Yeah. I'm sure we can make like a Dark Knight or something, yeah.
Yeah, like a dark and stormy night.
It'll be Jägermeister and
do a dark and stormy. Just keep it rum and whatever else is in there.
cherry juice or something. All right, and then so okay, the actual question: why would Bruce never use his wealth to fight crime? I think he was so done with like being Batman and whatever. He was just so moody about it that he just stowed away in his house for 2 decades instead of doing anything.
Yeah,
important.
It seemed like he was very defeated.
He lost control of his company. He didn't really care. Yeah.
At least in the animated universe, there's different iterations of old Batman and kind of like the different routes he can do. Like the Dark Knight Returns, he obviously just stays Batman. Well into his elder years. There was Batman number 300 is actually a book that I read recently on the DC Universe app, where
it was Gold thing.
No, actually, this is the one that was branded as like the last Batman story.
Okay.
And it was from the 70s. And in this, Bruce actually contemplates a career in government. He wants to run for the governor of whatever state that Gotham City is in. So he's thinking of a career in politics.
Which Maddie also found like a Bruce Timm interview. I think it was Bruce Timm anyway, from the Gods and Monsters time period when that movie came out, where he was talking about someone asked him like what Bruce Wayne's doing in this world, and that is sort of alluded to that he's like the president or he's like a congressman or something. So
I could see that
because his parents are still alive in this or whatever. Like he didn't become Batman, so
I definitely see him as a politician. In some aspects.
I'm moving on. This is from Drasir Gaming 88. Scenario: Batman and Robin and Superman and Superboy from the end of the Young Justice pilot are crossed in a time warp and get switched with Batman and Robin from BTAS and Superman and Supergirl from STAS, each at the time that each of the pairs were first shown together. This is very specific. End of episode, or else Superman and Superboy would be in space. What repercussions might this have if the switch sticks until what would be the end of the JL movie and the end of the first season on the other side? Convoluted, yes. Fun, I think so. So I guess he's saying Superman and Superboy from Young Justice switch places with Superman and Supergirl from the DCAU and are just stuck in each other's universes. Go.
Well, immediately what comes to mind is in the episode Legacy, Professor Hamilton would be experimenting on Superboy instead, and he would get Superboy's DNA, which might be also have Lex Luthor's DNA still, depending on if we're talking about Connor Kent. So then in the Ultimate and Galatea and everything in Cadmus, instead of a Galatea, you have this clone of a clone.
Yeah.
Which could get, I don't know how much you can clone a clone. I feel like
it could be like a weird
starts to degrade after a while.
Yeah.
It might be a little more bizarro. But if not, I guess it would be a sexier, like boob window version of Superboy. I don't know.
See, I noticed you said sexier version of Superboy.
Because Superboy Connor Kent's already, the 90s, you know? They got that leather jacket going.
He's wearing a leather jacket with nothing else.
Just the leather jacket. That's the Galatea of the.
This is all assuming that neither of the pairs appear.
Galateo.
Yeah, there you go.
Galateo.
This is assuming that neither of the pairs appear in the other universe and go, hang on, wait, other universes exist and we're from one.
Wait, and it has to end with Superman and Superboy in space?
No, I think he's saying he was saying to not. It has to happen right after both pairs meet each other or whatever, like when Superman and Superboy first meet at the end of the first episode of Young Justice, or when Superman and Supergirl first meet when he brings her home or whatever. So that I guess maybe he's saying that because then they're the least like a team, like they're more prone to just go off and do whatever. I don't know, dude. This is a very like complicated.
We didn't answer the Batman one at all.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think he ever would have gone to Gotham University or created the Titans.
No,
I don't know.
Yeah,
nope,
never
Supergirl
wouldn't have ended up teaming up with Batgirl ever.
Supergirl and Green Arrow would have not been best friends. I can't see Green Arrow getting along with Superboy. That would have happened.
Certainly not.
And like your jacket reminds me of my girlfriend, Black Canaries. It would make it awkward. They both have cool leather jackets.
Yeah, we'll just be like, yeah, I have some weird dreams sometimes. There was this one the other night, and then Superboy's like, oh yeah, she is hot, and then just starts hitting on Black Canary, and then that all gets ruined, and
then they have a leather jacket team up.
Yeah. That's the end of this. There's our really expert theories there for you. This is from Above and Batman Beyond. This is Benjamin David from the Above and Batman Beyond podcast. He says, let me get through where he's just had a bunch of questions for us that he wanted to ask, but he's only asked me 2 so far, I think.
Vic Sage and Renee Montoya.
Yeah. Bringing it back. He says, my first one before I send you any is, I've always wondered what is with the Christopher Walken impression by Ghoul. I don't think there's really an answer to that. I think it's just that Michael Rosenbaum decided to do that.
Yeah.
Or was instructed to do that or whatever. He's probably just dicking around.
Ghoul's the son of the Penguin. Or he's the son, and the Penguin.
He's the son of
Christopher Walken.
Penguin's
had
brother,
a thing in Batman Returns,
who was played by Christopher Walken. Yeah.
Max Schreck.
Shrek, yeah.
And he's an ogre.
Somebody. All right, that's the end. I guess that's that question.
Yes,
there's no
that was
real
a good answer.
He had another one though. He said, aside from quick references in the animated series, do we get any Fox family beyond Lucius, his son, whoever? Because the Batwing suit is just a lower tech Beyond suit. Wondering if they did anything with Batwing or the Foxes in comics or anything. Batwing definitely isn't DCAU. Like that's a much later character. But he's right that it's a very similar costume.
Yeah.
Especially that one time. There's some comic that you mentioned where the suit is essentially the same as the Batman Beyond suit, and I looked it up, and it was basically exactly the same.
Yeah, Darwin Cook is the one who designed that. Okay. He designed a lot of Batman Beyond stuff. He did the opening intro. Yeah. So that makes sense. Yeah.
But I don't think we see Lucius or even hear about him. There's a Fox Tekka. I don't think he has a son in this universe. I don't think anything is really continued yet until we bring it into Legacies. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, the Fox family is cool. Always thought that there should be more about them. Batwing is a really interesting character because it wasn't like Lucius Fox's son until they rebooted the concept and the character like halfway through the series. It was a strange decision, but that's what they did. You can see Lucas's son in the Batman Bad Blood movie. Batman Bad Blood was a pretty good Batwing focus there.
I think that's the only time. Like, I think that they were counting on Batwing being like a recurring character in the comics, and then as soon as they made that movie, then he just stopped really being anything.
He was in Detective Comics for a while. He was on that team.
Yeah.
That's kind of like a best of like Batman Allies sort of team book right now.
I have volume 2 of the Rebirth Detective Comics, but I have not started it yet because I have so many other things I'm reading.
Yeah, that's good.
Brian Kelly says, my name is Brian. Oh, hi.
Hey, Brian.
I've been watching some of your videos and read all your comics so far. I have one question. Will you guys be doing any Titan-related stories? I watched the Titans videos you did. I would like to see your take on them. He's talking about our Legacies of the DCAU comic. That's where he wrote in from is the contact form on that website.
Yes is the answer.
I don't want to talk too much about it.
I've got a two-part little storyline about the Titans. I guess I could... I don't want to give away too much either, but I'll say it's inspired a bit From the Terror Titans comic.
Okay.
I'm taking a bit of inspiration from that in this storyline. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, it's got some fun moments in that we've been like talking about since we started brewing ideas for the comic, because we're like, we have to bring them in at some point because they exist.
Definitely going to feature Tim Drake's Robin.
Yeah.
I can say that much. And you've got a cool character design for him in Legacies, where he's got these little green highlights on his sleeves. So it's not just red and black. He's got a little green going on. That's cool.
It's what I envisioned he would have maybe looked like had he appeared on JLU. Just the little updates like Batman did.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Yep, that's all the things. Thanks. If you want to write into the show, it's you can find us at DCAU Watchtower on social media, or you can email us at info@watchtowerdatabase.com, or the contact form on watchtowerdatabase.com at the bottom of the homepage is another place to do so.
YouTube comments. I try to chime in every now and then. I'm trying to get better about that.
Chime in about what?
YouTube comments. Jump in and say,
yeah.
hey.
Yeah, you can comment on the YouTube.
I'm
One of those was a comment, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's best if you follow the guidelines of sending in messages the way I ask you to, because then they'll definitely be read on here. But sometimes we'll pick ones from the comments if we're lacking in questions that week or something. So anyway,
we need a name.
That's
we
the
need
show,
a name for
I
this
guess.
segment. Yeah, that's most of the show.
Yeah, it happened. Thanks to Adam Mullen for the music like normal. He writes the intros, music to all our things. You can find him at musica-atomica.com. And
thanks to Sahil Dhawan.
Yes.
Dhawan. I'm sure he'll correct me on how to say his name.
Yeah, thanks to that
glad
guy.
to have you.
Thanks to all of you for listening. This comes out every other Monday on YouTube and iTunes. Currently anyway, of the places you can listen to it currently. I mean,
the website.
So not going any. Yeah, you can listen to it on watchtowerdatabase.com, man. We got the videos will be coming back starting on the 25th of this month. With Crisis on Two Earths, Will It Canon, I believe, is our premiere return video.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I'm going to try to do one of those premiere things that they just dropped on YouTube, where you can like have a countdown to the video and you can have a live chat with the audience as it's happening and stuff. So subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Watchtower Database, so you don't miss all the cool things. We're also on patreon.com/DCAU Watchtower. If you want to throw us your coffee money or your extra loose change, even $1 will get you early access to videos. You can also, there's other tiers for voting on what videos you want, or merchandise giveaways, or I'll draw you a picture. You
live
can talk
chats
to
with us.
Yeah. So lots
it's like
of
a
cool
live
things.
episode of the podcast.
Yeah, it's like you're here with us in the room that we're both definitely in together. Which when we're together for the Comic-Con, we can do a podcast episode finally in the same room. Yeah.
We'll probably have Maddie on there too. It'll be great.
Yeah. Now we'll just be in Maddie's apartment, but he doesn't get to be on the podcast.
I think he's gonna keep you in the basement.
Yeah, he'll.
Revenge.
Good thing I keep a chainsaw down there. All right, well, that's the end of the episode. Thanks for listening again, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. And by see ya, I mean you'll hear us.
We'll hear you later.
The end.
We're not gonna hear them. They're gonna hear us.
That's correct. You didn't
I'm not
have
hear
a
anything
little.
they're saying. If they're talking to us
joke
right now, I
ending.
can't hear anything.
Yeah. What's your little inside joke ending to the show? You always have some little. What did we say at some point?
Some little comment here.
Okay.
Okay. There it is.